What's up? It's me, Tom from CannabisIndustryLawyer.com, and I'm here to explain how you can maximize your likelihood of being awarded a New Jersey cannabis license. We're going to go over a flowchart that I've created after review of the regulations. The regulations, this is the flowchart. The regulations themselves are 160 pages, and they came out on August 19th, so a month ago. New Jersey hasn't released additional details. They'll probably be coming out, but you have to be conscientious of the litigation that's continuing to go on with previous applicants from 2019. They're trying to be resolved and taken care of prior to more being developed. But that's something that you kind of have to plan on in New Jersey, especially with the method that I'm going to be going over and disclosing for you. This is one of the things that I would do if I'm going to be approaching an application in New Jersey, or how I'd approach it for my clients, because it's going to require a little bit of math, but then also some understanding and appreciation about how the regulations are coming together, and methods that you can use to comply with the spirit of the social equity and the priority applicants that are granted priority in their application process, and the lower barrier to entry that this method will create. Now, this isn't an easy method. We are going to discuss something called SPVs. They stand for Special Purpose Vehicles. These are complex. They are extremely complex. Very often they're called hedge funds or private equity funds. But you're on the East Coast, so people know about them. They're limited partners. If anywhere they're going to have it, it's going to be in New Jersey. And the reason why I say that is because I read these regulations and there were a few things that stood out. One was the concept called passive investor in New Jersey. Are you a passive investor? Another concept was the financial sources agreement. Do you have a financial sources agreement? Another concept was the management agreement. And then the restrictions and the number game on those. For example, if you are talking about a financial sources agreement, you can have 7. If you're talking about a management agreement, you can have 5. If you're talking about passive investment, you comprise 5% or less of the ownership in the license holder, and you have no say in the matter. And if you are in the more than 5%, which actually has ownership and control, then you have the restrictions. One will apply. You have to look at how they've created that. So it says, well, they contemplate additional managers helping more than one team, and they contemplate banks and financial institutions that are providing those types of financial source agreements helping more than one team, and that they also anticipate passive investors not counting toward the person. So the person is, if you are the 5149, for example, maybe you're not that, but maybe to qualify for particular types of priority businesses, which you all must do, in my opinion, I would advise you to do that. You need to have 51% ownership and certifications from the state. So if you have that 51% ownership, then you can have 5 to go to a passive investor from an SPV, and that would also allow you to maybe have a financial source agreement that would operate how we're going to go over this little. I think we've built up the flow chart enough. Now, if you're finding this exciting and this is something that does interest you, please do give a like to this video. Comment down there saying like which city you're trying to get into in New Jersey. Click the bell after you've hit subscribe. I want to be able to come at this with a little bit more granularity. I kind of want to like have this thing be blown up way more, something like that, but then like still have me in it, and I just don't necessarily like this one so much. So I'm going to switch to me just being a spot on that. Now I'm just a fly in the wall on this chart that I made, and it's quite easy to understand. Mostly this chart was made for how can a wealthy person who is not going to be able to qualify for a conditional license or priority status get involved and help the priority applicants capitalize their businesses.Maybe that's what I should call the title of this. And if you want a copy of this flow chart, get in touch with me on Instagram at Cannabis Industry Lawyer, or on my website, CannabisIndustryLawyer.com. Are you a priority applicant? You know, that's one of the things. Yes or no. This SPV that I would set up will not be a priority applicant. It would be a 5% minority interest holder. You know, and then it would also have a credit agreement or a financial sources agreement with one of its applicants. Now, that 5% passive owner may also want to put in their own application for their own team for trying to hold on to as much as they can, even though that they aren't going to be able to qualify for priority status. regular applicants is what I call them. So we have the application, priority yes, priority no. That's the way it's going to go. Now, if it's priority yes, 49% or financial source. So you have a 51%er. Maybe it is a female, maybe it is a disabled veteran, maybe it is an impact zone business, maybe it is a social equity business, or maybe it is a diversely owned business. Get those certifications. That is definitely the way to do it. And considering I just listed 5 different types of social equity / priority that is given out to the by the New Jersey regulation, you can be creative. And you have your SPV. Well, and here's the portfolios of companies that we have. We have this one, we have that one, we have this one, we have that one, and you're 5%, 5%, 5%. Now we're at 25% of this, and that's before you provide the financing. Okay, and so now you can, it's a limit of 1. If you're at more than 49%, if you're not a passive investor, can't do it. But passive investors of 5% or less don't count. Don't believe me? Go read the rules and then come back and say, hey, you're wrong, and then get in touch with me and say that I'm wrong and say that this particular page, this particular chapter, or let's just talk about this because this thing's going to be fun to set up. It will take time. So 7 applicants at 5% passive investor. Now you have more that are in there. What if this comes down to a lottery? The word lottery does appear. Lottery, cannabis business licensing lottery. Comes up 14 times, by the way. You're going to have to do some lottery strategizing in your pre-application approach to this. And, you know, make sure that you know that because now, 7's more 1. But let's say that you're the guy that I just can't talk sense into, and he's like, I gotta go, this is my thing, I want it, I got a lot of money and political connections, I look just like me, except I have a way less hippie haircut, and I'm wearing a suit. That's fine, we'll help to the extent that we can. But I will say that it's going to probably have it'll be what I would call a lower probability event as opposed to a higher probability event. Now, we are dealing in lottery world, so there's that. If you win, you do have a 33% chance of winning, I would assume, because I think that the state wants to report that at least 2/3 of the licenses awarded were to priority applicants, because that's how they did it in Illinois. They said 2/3 of the applicants were social equity by ownership. It was 2/3 minority-owned businesses. And I don't know if that minority-owned wicket is what New Jersey is looking for, just a priority applicant. But I like to stack the priorities. Can you stack the priorities? We'll find out. So that is my little chart as to how I would go about raising the odds of your team based on the review and analysis of these rules, so that you can approach it from an edge. And if you need help with that, just go ahead and go to cannabisindustrylawyer.com and then fill out that wonderful form that we have, and I will be in touch with you. Thanks.